Oh, this one again? We're gonna be in for a fun ride, guys. D&D players, what was the NAT20 that made your DM facepalm Part 2? And hey, while I got you on the horn, if you have a story you'd like to share, one that's relevant to the video, so check the title, make sure to leave us a comment below with a related story, and it may just be used in a video. Anyway, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get right into it, shall we? My Dragonborn paladin was helping infiltrate a bandit camp. We got seen.
I tell the bandit he can't see me.
Roll persuasion?
NAT20.
My DM sighs. The bandit goes, okay, and walks away. Best session ever. Some people asked me about how I killed someone with a feather. I strangled him with it. DM asked for a roll, NAT20. That feather was used to murder 3 more people. The ship is rocking like crazy in a storm, waking you all up.
I'd like to roll to stay asleep. NAT20.
Okay. Well, now lightning is crackling like crazy, and you hear the crew shouting, NAT20. You hear the ship creaking and wood snapping.
18.
You wake up. I managed to roll 2 more NAT20s for sleeping later in the story arc. I use command on a bandit and say, backflip. The bandit then attempts to do a backflip, rolls a natural 1 for performance, lands on his head and breaks his neck. One of my favorite kills I've had in my short time of playing D&D. My character was bleeding out in my first campaign. In a panic, I decided to intimidate my wounds. Rolled NAT20, DM had a stroke, then said, okay, so you yelled really hard at your open stomach wound, and it just up and closed. Heal 5 HP. That's actually kind of a good idea, too. Can't believe it worked. I NAT20'd an intimidation roll after fouling up a stealth check. An 8-foot-something Goliath barbarian just screaming, "You cannot see me! Go away!" At a pair of terrified succubi was just too good. Mwah! The mimic goes to bite Rutherford, our gunslinger. It hits, and you take 4 damage. Matt, your turn. I jump on top of the mimic and slam my revolver into its head and fire. Roll for it. NAT20. With the grace of an Olympic gold medalist gymnast, Ernie, my character, flips over Rutherford's head and sticks the landing with such finesse, Rutherford's arm doesn't buckle under your weight. Yeah! I set up a prison my players were trapped in. They were required to get to the lowest floor where there was a portal. I made a boss fight on one of the floors where they would fight the warden. My little brother likes to mess up what I have planned.
What do you do?
I chain him up and put him on my pet manticore.
Okay, you're going to need a really high roll.
Is this high enough?
I don't exactly remember what the roll was, but they took the first boss hostage. They now keep him as a pet. I had a funny moment while playing a gnome rogue by the name of Scrambles. By design, I made him smaller than your average gnome and quite comically used my size with both advantageous and terrible effect. But I always like to think of the time while escorting a trader we met to the nearest town with my party, which consisted of a cleric, a druid, and a fighter who had an in-character distrust of anyone non-human. Naturally, we didn't get along most of the time. During an argument, he decides to try to punt my character like a football. Having done this a few times before with mixed results, I was expecting it. He rolls a 1. I ask the DM if I can roll to dodge it anyway, and after getting the okay, I roll a 17. I tell the DM I'm going to counter back after my dodge, but instead of attacking, I want to jump onto the fighter's head, and the DM shrugs and says okay. But I want you to roll a d20 for agility and dexterity, and a d6, 17, 19, 6. I think back and asked the DM what the d6 was for, realizing he never told me why I was rolling it. Instead of answering my question, the DM tells us that when trying to kick my character, the fighter stumbled, and my rogue was able to not only dodge the attack by jumping, but backflipped into the fighter's face, breaking his nose. As I scurried onto his head, the table laughed, except for the fighter, who said,
I just grabbed the little gremlin off my head and hold him away from at arm's length.
He rolls and succeeds. I look at my DM plainly and say,
My character goes limp.
My DM, who actually kind of hated how much our fighters' hate for other races derailed the campaign or was just annoying to deal with in general, told us each to roll a d20, and lightning struck twice in my favor. 21 in my favor. The DM describes how this tiny runt of the gnome looks at the fighter and smiles before sagging down. The massive fighter struggles to grab hold with both hands before being pulled to the ground by the weight of this tiny creature. The DM tells us both to roll again, and in a cruel twist of fate, the dice gods made us even, 1 to 20. The DM closes his eyes and sighs, and says the fighter fell to the ground right on top of my character, the overall weight of the fighter in his armor crushing me instantly. The DM said outside of a mangled sack of crushed meat and bones, only a bright red gooey stain remained of scrambles on the outside of our fighter's armor. The cleric said she wanted to resurrect me, but I declined. I'd been wanting to play a wizard for a while at this point, and it seemed like a hilarious way to leave the party. The fighter never washed the stain off of his armor either, and occasionally pointed at it and said,
"That's the only gnome I ever kind of liked."
It actually came in handy as an intimidation tool, and the DM decided to give him a +5 in intimidation, a +2 in dexterity, and a -1 luck for it, and that's how my character became an armor enchantment. I was playing a bard and we had to lure people interested in women, so we dressed up and spread across the city. I used my cape, my PC wears a cape, as a blanket, lit some candles with Presto, and, with minor illusion, I played Careless Whisper. DM tells me to roll performance. NAT20. Got me 5 GP from some men on the street, interested in me losing some clothes, until I revealed to them that my PC is in fact a dude. Still, a fun experience. The first time I played D&D, I was a wizard that specialized in lightning magic. We were facing a goblin army inside an ancient temple. It became my turn, which was also my first turn ever. I cast Chain Lightning, but rolled a nat 1. The DM, feeling sympathetic for me, said,
"You focus your spell, but got distracted halfway through and shot sideways. The lightning hit a pillar, which caused it to topple over and crush 50 goblins."
This is a story between a Dragonborn paladin and their DM.
"I tried to jump onto the dragon's back and attack it to keep it from fleeing."
Alright, roll athletics with disadvantage.
"Fair enough."
Rolls 2 nat 20s. Total silence from everyone. Until...
Divine Smite!
My group was fighting against a couple of enemies. The thing was that the group was a little dispersed in the battle, so when the enemy saw the poor bard of the team practically alone, they started to focus him. A single round passes and the bard was unconscious and started rolling death saves. Me, as a hexblade with a tome, I was stupid with an owl familiar, tried to save him, but of course I didn't have healing, so I sent my little owl to use the help action for the bard's death saves, which my DM allowed. The bard's turn arrived. Nat 20 thanks to the advantage. Now with 1 hit point, the bard starts to heal himself and help in the battle, which we won thanks to that stupid crit. It was hilarious. One time, when the party was just doing a quest, we found an enemy who was meant to be a boss. After a failed attempt at using Charm Person, failed for obvious reasons, we talked to this boss, and with some high persuasion rolls, we got out with no deaths and new general. We tried this one time when we found the big bad evil guy before the actual boss battle against him, and the DM asked us to roll 15 d20s. After seeing the first roll, he said that we failed. We had to get all perfect rolls. If we succeeded at that, then the DM would know something's not right. I guess he didn't want us to do the same trick twice. Many years ago, AD&D was just out and my group had switched to it from the paperback rules. I was playing a samurai using the optional Dragon Magazine, number 49, rules. Our party is asked to save a town from a rapacious dragon. Huge, old, and I think a blue. The dragon spots us and comes in for an air attack. breath weapon, and claws. We barely dodge the worst of the breath, except for one of our thieves, and the dragon comes around for another pass. My samurai calmly stands as the dragon bears down on him. At the last second, he pivots out of the way, and down comes the katana. NAT20. Samurai rules state that that is an instant decapitation. My samurai just decapitated a huge old dragon in flight, eliminating the threat almost before we got started. Double facepalm, and the DM just sat there at a loss for what to do next. I got a good one. My friend tried to use his magic shield thing and rolled quite low. We were being attacked by a bat that had the consistency of honey, and the plane we were in was being taken apart. One guy rolled a 17 to blow the thing up. I, being the good human I am, used friendship to boost his roll and save us all. DM said if I got a nat 20 it would succeed, and I got a nat 20. I remember a game where the DM gave the person a chance for a god call, i.e., as he was being pierced by an enemy weapon, he called on his god to help him achieve vengeance, since he worshipped a warrior god. The DM gave him two 10-sided dice and said if you roll a 0-0, which means 10-10, your god will respond.
Lo and behold.
Bounce, 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 double 10s. Man, did the DM's face go blank as he never thought it would happen. But then he stepped up to the moment and said something to the effect of,
as the enemy warrior pulls his sword from your chest with a laugh, kicking your body backwards, a glow envelops you and the wound. Suddenly, your armor is whole and the wound is healed, and you feel reinvigorated. And while staggered from the kick, you stand upright with a grin on your face. The enemy forces see this, drop their swords, and flee in panic.
During the first campaign I ran, my party was trying to get information out of a group of goblins they had cornered in a tavern. What followed was the biggest string of dumb barbarian moments I have ever seen. First goblin is unconscious, so the barbarian rolls to slap them awake. Rolls a nat 1 and breaks the goblin's neck. Oh, I like where this is going. Goblin 2 is hiding under a large 100-gallon cask of mead on a stand. Barbarian rolls to lever the cask up. Nat 20. He lifts the cask, then tries to grab the goblin while still holding the cask. Grabs the goblin successfully, but since he is now holding up the cask with one hand, I make him roll strength again, and he gets a nat 1. The cask falls and turns the goblin's torso and legs into paste. Oh, this can't get any better, can it? Goblin 3. This goblin is tied up and conscious, but will not talk. Barbarian rolls to intimidate and rolls a nat 20. Given the situation, I decided to roll a con save for the goblin. He is badly hurt after all, and the goblin rolls a nat 1. My barbarian gave the goblin a heart attack. Oh, fuck. He gave the goblin a heart attack. In less than 5 minutes, the barbarian had managed to kill all 3 of the goblins they could have interrogated. From then on, Berman Forgeborn became known as the Goblin Slayer. Eventually, I made up a perk that automatically adds an extra d4 to his damage rolls against goblins. Well done, Berman. I'm proud of you. I had a series of nat 20s from a player, I'm the DM, that were truly absurd, culminating in one from me in relation to that player that left everyone awestruck. My friend was playing his most iconic character, and this time around he happened to be a warrior prince. I had an NPC DMPC with him that was my most iconic character as well. We'll get into that later. Just keep it in mind, and served as his advisor/jester. He's a bard. Now, you'd think the NPC would be the persuasive one since he had 17 charisma and my friend had 12. You'd be wrong. I rolled okay when my NPC was forced to step in, but every time the prince rolled diplomacy, he got a 19 or a 20. He recruited a mini-boss Dragonborn barbarian, a fire giant smith, and a half-mad druid. Who was at war with the fire giant he had already recruited, which was after he talked down the treant who served said druid. Then, due to my friend switching character concepts faster than Florida weather changes around midsummer, and Ohio too, and a few plot points, that character left, but left my NPC behind to serve the kingdom's best interests. Enter the best moment of the game. We had to pass some hill giants to go to the next plot point, and my friend's prince had given NPC man a dagger made by the fire giant. Knowing what the prince would have done, being loyal to said prince, and having a vague understanding of the ordering, basically the giant equivalent of a caste system, NPC showed the hill giants the dagger and ordered them to stand aside, as we had business to get to on the fire giant's behalf. Hill giants are dumb as bricks. As GM, I'd never let someone just talk them down and boss them around without a NAT20. My first NAT20 on either side of the game that entire campaign. Even after he left, the prince still rolled a NAT20 vicariously through my NPC. I never facepalmed so hard in my life. Hey everyone, Ryan here. How's everyone doing? Everyone alright? Still got both your eyes? All 10 fingers and toes? All the hair on your head? Still got your ears and nose? Well, here's hoping you do. Check up aside. I also hope you enjoyed the video and all the goofs and laughs within. If you did, leave a like. And if you're new here, give us a big old subscribe too. And if you didn't, yeah, thumbs down will do, at least you're honest. Either way, feel free to have a chat with us in the comments below, as we're always reading them. Tell us how you're doing, or you can share a story of your own with us in the comments as well, because you never know, we might read it out in a video in the future. Thanks again for tuning in. Be safe, be happy, and we'll see you next time. See you later, everyone.